And we are live. We. Got the glare in behind somehow because of one light. Don't know why.
Well,
Usually
actually,
have that.
I dim it a bit.
Maybe.
Quite so bad.
Oops.
So I think that's a little better.
That's a little better. Okay, so we have one. That's me. Hi, me.
I mean,
Oh, we got two. We've got two. We'll just wait till more come in. Happy Pride. Yay.
in Toronto anyway.
In Toronto. Actually, there's a lot of Pride is going on in June anyways around the world. I think New York City's this weekend too. Not sure.
You're out of the picture.
What, I was looking at my two. How's that?
See, yeah, okay. See, I think you moved it over.
Well, I can move it just a hair here. Well, what? We don't need
For
to.
some reason, the preview screen doesn't show you.
No, it doesn't show it the same way.
Oops.
Okay, earthquake.
No, turn. Yeah. No. Now we're crooked. Turn it.
Oh, it doesn't look crooked.
No.
Okay.
No.
What? Which way?
Well, whatever. Dude, just leave it.
What, like that?
No, the other way. Up. There. No. The cabinets aren't supposed to look straight.
They're not.
Yeah, no. You gotta move it. Look at the. Come here.
What? I can't see.
Look at it. It's crooked.
Oh.
We're
okay,
looks like
that
we're
look-
surfing uphill.
All right. Just a second.
Keep going up. Okay, that's it.
All
That's
right,
it.
fine. Okay, you're happy now?
Yeah, I guess.
Yay. Who have we got? We got lots of people. Hattie's attic is here. Brenda's here. Glenn is here. Glenn says it is Pride in Chicago today, too. Yeah, I think it's in a lot of places. But anyways, I did have a full-size Pride flag I was going to put on the fridge behind us. I can't find it. I don't know what I did with it.
Seniors moment.
I thought I saw it not too long ago, but I can't find it. So
Probably when you cleaned up your sewing area, you probably buried it somewhere.
could have been. I found this one though. Yay. We had some bigger ones too. I can't find them. Oh well. Such is life. Maria says that ours is in July. Their Pride. Well, needless to say, ours is going on right now in Toronto,
It's raining outside.
and it's raining outside. And you know, there's nothing worse than soggy gay people, especially when they dry out. They smell like wet wool. Well, for those that are wearing clothes at it. We're not there today. We haven't gone in a few years because
It's
it
too
is
busy.
far too busy. But we are celebrating it with a drink, and you'll notice our glasses are rainbow glasses. And what we are drinking, you may wonder, and it is not urine, okay, although it looks like it. They are called a bitch slap. And what's in a bitch slap?
Well, it's actually our version. It's a watered down bitch slap.
What? Yeah, with what's in it?
It's normally melon liqueur, sourpuss apple, and sourpuss raspberry. And if you want it to make it a real potent one, you add vodka to it. But we are just mixing it with cranberry juice, so it won't be quite as big of a slap.
And the secret, and the secret ingredient is there's a bunch of gummy bears in the bottom, and they're the best part at the end. Yeah, they soak up everything, and then away you eat them. That was not one of them. That was one that has not yet been. That was a virgin gummy bear. And people are saying, Glenn says, now what about Walter's irritation at Walmart shoppers dressing? That is coming, Glenn.
That's not necessarily Walmart.
No, it can
I
be.
mean, it could be anywhere.
Yeah. So we are going to do the Wally What Not to Wear segment shortly. And Glenn says, I always thought when they dried out, they smell like wet foam and silicone. Ooh. Ooh. Probably right, though, but ooh. Brenda says she's still not getting notification. Okay, Brenda, that a lot of people, this is happening. It's happening to me too, and I'm not really sure the reason, but it's not. The one thing you have to make sure of is that you click on the bell icon next to subscribe, and it's kind of like a toggle. Click on it once and look down at the bottom of your screen down here, and a little black bar will come up and it'll say get all notifications, get occasional notifications, or don't get any notifications. And so you just If it comes up and it doesn't say get all notifications, just tap it again, and until you get the bar that comes up that says get all notifications, and that should work. If you've already think you have that set up with that, try it again. And if it's still not getting notifications, then I have no idea what's going on. YouTube's been screwing around again behind the scenes with their algorithms and whatnot, and it seems it's been affecting a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So, of course, YouTube doesn't talk about it, doesn't tell you. They have a page out of the Apple Book, and the Apple Book is, wait, look at that squirrel.
No, yeah.
Out of a page out of the Apple Book where they never admit that there might be something at their end that's wrong. So you're left hanging as to whether or not you're having a problem. I'm going to spill this. Okay, I got a gummy stuck in my straw. So, anyways, got a few more people here. Jody is here. Hello, Jody. They're having a hailstorm in Colorado.
Wow.
Who else? Glenn says I didn't get a notification today either. I usually do, but none today. Okay. Again, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why. What's going on with that at all. But you know that we are usually on, or unless you're talking about my little teaser that I often do earlier in the day, if you mean that, I didn't put one up because we just got back from our friend's boat. We were there for the weekend, and we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes as well. So if that's what you mean about me actually coming on talking for about 45 seconds about reminding you about Stephen and Walter live at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I didn't put one of those up today. So that's why you didn't get it. Let's see. Brenda says, yes, I did. I did for other subscribers and it worked, but not yours. Again, I don't know why.
Is there something new on your end that you have to set up?
I don't think so. I can't really check that right now while we're live, but I will go in and I will check to see if that's a problem or not. Nobody else has mentioned this to me in comments on any of my vlog or anything, but who knows? I will check it out though and see if there's something at my end. I don't think there is. I just think it's a YouTube thing, but I don't know. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're talking about the Pride Parade, first of all, and why we didn't go. It's just too busy. It's over 1 million people come out to it. Every part of life is there. We've got your straights, we've got your gays, your lesbians, your transgendered, your leather, your queens, your drag kings, and then of course we have the new entry. Well, it's not that new, but we have what we like to refer to as binomials. But
they're
what do they go by?
Non-binary.
Non-binary.
They don't like to be classified as male or female.
Yeah, they don't like either one. So they want to be referred to as their, or them, or they. And we've had this discussion before, and I'm sorry, and I don't want to offend anybody, but quite frankly, I think that's just stupid. Just stupid. And as a former English teacher, I'm sorry, I will not use a plural pronoun for a singular identity. It just won't work for me. So if I meet a binomial, or a binomial, we always call it non-binary on the street, I'm sorry. It's going to come out as a single pronoun, not as a plural. So shoot me. Too bad. Oh, yeah, we're reversed. This is the other thing. I guess you guys are just going to have to get used to it. This is something that has happened in YouTube. I'm not the only one. I know Ken's Creations. I watch his, and they're all flipped too. It used to automatically put it the right way.
We've done some research, and we haven't been able to figure out
what's going on.
But I've noticed there's other people posting saying that, a month ago they had their videos up and everything was fine, and now all of a sudden everything's reversed.
And there isn't a facility that we can find that will allow us to flip it back the other way. So if you're new, you don't notice the difference.
We tried doing it the other way around 1 week, but it's too hard for us to do right now unless we figure out something else, because...
Yeah, and
it's hard for us because right now we're doing it through FaceTime. So right now we can we're not doing FaceTime, reverse camera or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, we've got the front camera instead of the
thing, so we can watch or we can sort of see what you're seeing.
See,
And
we
it's a
need
little
that for
easier
monitoring it.
for us to monitor it. So
Yeah. So just think of it as we did a major redecorating of the house and we turned the whole
I
place
mean,
upside down.
if our original broadcast had been reversed, then you would know any different.
Yeah, you wouldn't. And the weird part is when I record and they're not live, they come out the right way.
Yeah.
So-
So it's something in the live broadcast that won't
Yeah.
doesn't work. Right.
Or it's something in iTunes, or not iTunes, but on iPad
Or
with
Apple,
with one of their upgrades that happened recently. And like I said, neither YouTube nor Apple will ever admit that it could be a problem
I mean, I
at
can
their
take
end.
another look again. Maybe
Yeah.
there's more posts. I don't know. We haven't checked for about a week.
So, but I mean, so this just gives you a different perspective.
The only time it might be a problem is if we try to hold up something that has writing on it, and then it'll be backwards. So.
Brenda says, well, you're both looking good either way. Thank you, Brenda. And Glenn says, don't say shoot me. Crazies out there might take you up on it.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I know.
There's been more gun violence lately in Toronto than there has been in the past.
Yeah, Chuck wants to know, any thoughts on Jordan Peterson?
Jordan, who?
I don't know. Jordan Peterson. Chuck, can you fill us in? That's not ringing a bell. Is that the young black fellow that was unarmed that was in the car somewhere in the States,
I'll have to
and
look it up.
the cops pulled him over and he got out of the
No.
car, panicked and ran, and they shot him? Is that the guy you're
Let
referring
me
to?
take a look.
Hi, Mel. And what are we drinking, Brenda? These are called bitch slaps on the occasion of Pride. They're cranberry juice with sourpuss apple, sourpuss raspberry, and melon liqueur. And there's gummy bears in the bottom soaking up some of the alcohol. They're quite
He's
tasty.
a clinical psychologist in Toronto. I think he's the one that might have opposed.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's the guy that started all the controversy about using what pronouns people want to be, especially in the transgender community and stuff like that. Yeah, I think he's maybe getting a little extreme because transgendered people are a little bit different from non-binary. Because transgender people are basically people who are like male to female, female to male.
I think non-binary calls themselves transsexual as well.
Do they?
Although they're not actually going from one gender to another. So
But I don't have any problem with a transgendered person who has gone from male to female, for example, wanting to be called she, and vice versa, he, for female to male. I don't have any problem with that. And the only problem sometimes that can come up is if you meet a person and you don't know them, they're transgendered, and they are, they're biologically a male or were born a male, but are like transitioning to female of their identity, then you just have to simply ask when you meet them, which pronoun would you prefer? And I don't have a problem with that because that's different, I think, than the non-binaries. So,
because non-binary just does not identify with either sex, supposedly, but it's almost like they want to be two people, not one.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how. Maybe they should make up a new word that.
I
is
don't
for
think
them.
we need to make up any more labels.
Okay,
We
well, I
have
know we get
far
pretty
too
complicated
many
these days.
labels already. In fact, I saw a post on Facebook where someone was putting up all the different flags for the LGBT community. I didn't realize there were so many different flags. Well, okay, that's just getting really confusing too. The whole idea behind the rainbow flag when it was first designed was to show it encompassed everyone under the rainbow. That the mixture of colors met everybody. Then you got people playing around with it. The transgendered have their flag now. Before that, the
bisexuals have their
bisexuals have the flag. I don't know if the non-binaries have a flag yet.
I don't know.
It may be just big white thing.
It
with
just
an
gets
X.
very
I don't know.
complicated.
But like the label business. Come on, people. We're all individuals. Give it up. As soon as you start to label people, and you start playing around with the language to accommodate those people, I think you're doing more harm than good because you're creating walls, little compartments, okay? Isn't that like what racism is too? So I don't know, I just throw it out there. But Chuck says, Canadian professor has become, this Jordan Peterson. Canadian
Yeah.
professor has become quite considered making a splash with his tour in USA and book, 12 rules, and it's dot. So,
I'll have to look him up.
yeah, we'll have to look him up more, but
Maybe we can
it is the
discuss
guy
it
we were
next
talking
week,
about.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll discuss it next week. I'll put a note. Look up Jordan.
I think he's the guy I did see a couple of years ago on.
I think there's some
interview.
YouTube videos of
Yeah.
him being interviewed that we
We'll
saw.
have to see.
Yeah.
Probably can't talk in Canada because in Canada they would be considered a hate crime.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would probably go against human rights in some way. Brenda says, "I just now got the notification." Oh, time
That's
delay.
a delay.
Yeah. So who knows? I haven't noticed though. Oops, as I spit up my popcorn. Oh, and this is jalapeno popcorn.
Yeah, we had that last week too.
Yeah. So now it's stale jalapeno popcorn.
Not really because I bought a new bag.
Oh, okay. Good to know. What happened? Did we eat it all last week?
No,
or
I
did-
ate
Oh,
it all.
you ate it all. Okay. Well, it's low fat. What I was going to say is, I have noticed on YouTube lately. See, what I do is I get notifications for all kinds of different ones I subscribe to, but I don't watch them as soon as they come through. I just click on Watch Later, and they go into my Watch Later library, and then I can watch them whenever I want. But I have noticed that things are a little slow, and I was wondering if it was my internet connection or something else. So maybe that's playing in here with all of this. And Brenda says, now it keeps buffering. Will refresh. Okay.
Maybe you're having a speed connection on your internet. Maybe it was not actually connected when before, and now it's all of a sudden it connected.
Maybe.
And sent you picked up an old notification.
Because you notice I keep looking down here at my phone, and I keep doing that because I am seeing what you are seeing. So I know about the delay and everything like that. Whereas when we're looking at our iPad right now for this, it's in our time. What you see is a couple of seconds later
Yeah.
with it. So if I watch it here on my phone, I can see that, and I can see your what the comments you're making as well. And if there's a buffering problem, I would have the buffering problem too, if it was a general buffering problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting that. So it may be something to do with your provider, your connection. I don't know. It's always a mystery, always a mystery. So I hope we don't lose you, Brenda, during the broadcast. Mel says, I've never liked how people are categorized by their sex or sexual orientation. All are just people. Exactly, Mel. And B and D are here and say, hello, Stephen and Walter. Hello, B and D. And, okay, so
I read
anyway.
an interesting article
What's that?
about a few months ago that sort of said that 100 years ago they didn't really have a categorization for anything else.
What do you
That
mean?
everybody was just humans, right? Like they didn't really identify sexuality or anything
No,
like that.
they
Yeah.
didn't. They didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Because it also would have been,
Well, of course it was underground, but
underground, but also you could be put away in an
Yeah.
insane asylum if you
I
started
guess
to.
they had a term for that, that you were, what do you call it, mentally disabled or mentally challenged or something.
Yeah.
If you weren't
You weren't.
You were
You
a
weren't
sexual
normal.
deviant.
Oh yes, the sexual deviant for years. Yeah, that was on there.
I remember going to the U.S. in the 1980s or whatever, and I think one of the questions on
Good, Brenda.
One of the questions across the border was, "Are you a sexual deviant?" Right?
Yeah, I'm going
And
to admit to that.
You're actually going to say yes to that,
Like, I don't know. How do they prove it? If you've never been charged under the law of anything, why would you even say? Why would even if you had been charged? Why would you say that? I mean, that's just a stupid question.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
oh yes, I was deviant on Monday and I was deviant last Friday. Sorry. Whatever. So, anyways, back to the Toronto Pride Parade. Too busy, too congested, too wild. Really. You can't move. You literally can't move.
And it's like several people deep to get in to actually watch the parade. So
Several,
you
like
can't,
10
unless
people
you're
deep.
10 feet tall, you can't see anything. And
And people stake out their spot where they're going to watch the parade, and it's a very long route. It's what? Probably a couple of miles long.
yeah, and it goes on for hours and hours.
And depending on where you're standing to watch, if you're not near the beginning of where the parade starts at, if you're down further, you could be, the parade may start at 2, and I think it did start at 2. By the time it gets down to where you're standing, it could be an hour, even an
Later.
hour and a half before you see the beginning of the parade. And we have done it. We have gone out and we have stood there for 3 hours or more waiting for the parade so we would have a good vantage spot. And then what would piss you off is there's these people who come later
And they weasel their way in.
their way in. So sometimes I stand right like this, like you're not getting by me, with the barrier. I mean, I've stood out here in the days when there was hot sun for it, not today, and getting singed to death, just to see it. And then you got to start thinking about it. Is it really worth it? Or somebody's got a baby stroller that they're putting up against my legs and ramming it. And that I feel sorry for these tiny little kids sitting in this stroller. All
They
these
probably
people
don't
my
have any
brother-
idea what this is about.
Well, of course they
So,
don't. They're 3 years old in a stroller, but they don't know what's going on.
No.
And so I don't know why the parents bring them down for it at that age. Like, why put their kid through something like that? That's bad parenting, in my opinion. Okay. Brenda says her refreshing is doing good now, so that's good. So, anyways, we don't go. Also, they have the parade goes down the main drag of Toronto, which is Yonge Street. But one block over, there's another street called Church, and that's where the gay district traditionally is. And they have the whole street from the top to the bottom, pretty much. It's I don't know, 8, 10 city blocks long, all blocked off, and they have all these vendors all set up all along that, and plus the little side streets that branch off it. And they have beer gardens, and they have several different stages of entertainment.
It's so busy there, you literally cannot walk down the street.
You can't walk down the street. It'll take you an hour to get down from one end to the other, and you're constantly pushing people. And people are drinking and probably doing other things.
Drinking illegally, yeah.
Yeah, like they're not supposed to have any alcohol outside of the bars or the beer gardens that are designated and things like that.
Oops.
And they do police it. Can't hang on to your popcorn?
No, I'll forget them later.
But it's a big party and people are already high, drunk, whatever, and the whole bit. And
Probably now that the marijuana laws have passed in Canada, even though technically it's not legal, they're probably all smoking that.
Oh yeah, because the cops will now probably turn a blind eye because it's going to be legal as of October the 17th. But because it finally got what we call royal assent.
As it is when we went, we'll talk about our weekend thing.
But anyway, so that's why we don't go, and I don't really miss it. Might turn it on. It's probably being repeated on one of the news stations on TV. And actually, it's kind of boring. It used to be really good. They used to have a lot of floats and things, and well,
It'd be a little bit more fun. And now
Make
it's
it
very
people.
political and
everybody and their dog marches in it. We marched in it several times in the years too. One year we square danced in it, if you can believe that. We joined a gay square dancing club many years ago, and we were with the club.
2002, I believe.
Yeah, and we were square dancing as we marched in the parade. Well, that
That was exhausting.
and it was a disaster because because of the noise, the crowd, the whole bit, you couldn't hear the music properly, you couldn't hear the caller, and we were relatively new to this square dancing thing, and so we were completely lost.
Yeah. But that was it's a very different perspective if
Yeah.
you're in it.
It's just a sea of people all the way down on both sides, and it's a little bit claustrophobic too, like because they're close, there's barriers, but you kind of get, and I do suffer from claustrophobia. And if you're what's the phobia for people who don't like crowds, this would not be a good environment for you at all. Chuck says, I would think it would be televised on a cable channel. Yeah, it is, but it's one of the ones like, not CNN, but we have something called CP24, and it's like a CNN sort of thing, and they'll have it up here in this corner of the screen, and below they'll have the news of the day, going by in those little roller things and the temperature and stuff like that. You'll see it on the news, but they usually go out and they show the weirdest ones.
They show the most outrageous, the inappropriately clothed ones.
or ones that just aren't wearing clothes at all. with
I
it.
don't know if they're still in it this year or not. Like, there's a group of men in Toronto called TNT, Totally Naked Toronto, or something like that, and they'll walk down naked, and they're usually the people you don't want to see
And they're
naked.
not pretty. You don't want to see them naked. No. And then, of course, you have the women who come in on bikes or are walking and they're not wearing a top at all. And you see, that's not illegal in Ontario. In Ontario, if a woman wants to go topless in
She
the
can.
streets, she can.
Now,
And
most women don't.
yeah, most women don't. And that's
In
probably,
fact, it's very rare that I've seen that.
yeah.
So
You usually only see it during Pride and you don't see a lot of it.
no.
But sometimes what you do see
And
of it is
some of
not
those
pretty.
women shouldn't have their tops
No,
off either.
no. Sweetie, I now understand why there was an invention called a bra. Because that can't be comfortable. Just can't be comfortable. So anyways, we don't go. All right, but what did we do this weekend? Well, we have a couple of friends. One is a friend of mine. I taught with her for many years, and this year she's retiring. So next week is her last week at school. And they have a boat. Now, when I say a boat, it's not a rowboat. It's a big boat. It's a boat that's got everything in it. And there's
It has two full, well, two bedrooms that can handle a queen
two
size
bedrooms, two bathrooms. It has a washer dryer.
Two
It
showers.
has, yeah, it has a sitting area, kitchen, the whole bit with an oven, stove, fridge, whatever. It's a big boat. And they had it anchored up at a place that's about an hour and a half north of us called Aurelia. And right now they're doing this on this particular weekend. They have something called Christmas in June. And I guess all these boaters come in and they, is it berth or dock their boats.
I guess it's sort of halfway between Christmas, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
close. They always do it the closest to June
well,
25th.
Yeah, so it's halfway between 6 months
So
more.
it's almost, yeah, halfway through the year towards Christmas. Okay. And they decorate their boats like Christmas. And they had a big party going on, which was a martini party. And I guess, well, we were told it was like $15 a person, and it was martinis and hors d'oeuvres and then pizza later. And then they had a live band. And so we went to this. In fact, where they had their boat docked was like 2 boats away from this barge they had it on. Now, at first we thought the barge might be going out in the water, but probably a good thing it didn't. It's just a floating dock, basically, that's docked next to the permanent dock. And they have a canopy over it, and they had tables set up, on it. Got some of that jalapeno stuff down my throat. And so we get there, and they had 3 kinds of martinis. And it was straight booze. First one was a regular martini. All it was a bottle of vodka on ice. And they actually had it poured into like a type of container with a spigot on it, and you just kind of squirted it into your glass. The other one was a chocolate martini, and that's just chocolate vodka. And the other one was green apple martini, and that was green apple vodka. So it was pure booze. Very potent. If you light a match, everybody went up. So we had a little sip. I didn't have too much because we had brought retirement in a bag for our friend. We put together a bag, and it had a little fascinator in it that's got this little hat thing, little fascinator, you know what I mean by fascinator. And it says, retired and fabulous, and there was a sash to go with it that said the same. And we took up a bottle of cheap champagne, a big bottle, and I had decorated the bottle all up. And so we had that between 4 of us. We drank that bottle of champagne before we went into the martinis. And I got her a gift certificate as well. She's a quilter. So I got her a gift certificate at one of the quilting shops in the area. And so we had our own little retirement party for her. So that was kind of fun. And then everybody was to bring hors d'oeuvres, I guess. The people who belonged to this boating club that they belonged to that were docked there. So they had, a wide variety of things and that. And like vultures, they ascended, went the martinis, and gobble, 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 went all the appetizers. And then they brought out some pizzas and things like that. And then they had live music and people could dance. It was kind of crowded for that because they were kind of on a dock and you didn't really want to, you had to be careful where
And
you
the band
walked.
ended up on the barge,
So-
so like you had to be careful where you were dancing or whatever.
So it was a fun time, and we hadn't seen these people in a while. So we got caught up in things, and then we were staying the night on the boat. So things on a boat, though, are a little bit on the small sides. So the bathroom is really tiny, and there's a way they showed us how to flush it. There's a foot pedal on it, and you were supposed to sort of lift up the foot pedal for a few seconds so some water would go into it. There's already water in the bowl, and then you pushed it down and it sucked it all down and refilled, kind of a thing. You know, you would think those are fairly simple instructions, right? Apparently not for me, because I went in there this morning and let's just say I could have been very embarrassed because you know that feeling you get when the toilet doesn't flush properly and the water keeps coming in and up and things start to rise and float in the top and you're going, oh my God, stop! It did. And I thought, oh, this is embarrassing. What am I going to do? And so I played around with it a little bit and I finally got it to flush again. But then a few minutes later, after I had my shower and everything, went back in and had a little problem again. But this time it wasn't quite as embarrassing because it was just pretty much clean water, more or less. And no floaties, if you get my drift, you know. And said to Bob, Bob, had a little problem with the toilet. He goes, oh yeah, that happens. Don't worry about it. I know how to fix it. So he did. But it was pretty close to the top, and I was starting to panic when it went up. So I think that's the worst feeling in the world, especially when it's somebody else's place. Yeah. Oh my God. So, anyways, we lived through all of that, and it was fun and whatnot. But of course, we had to leave a little bit. They were going to take us out on the boat in the afternoon, but we didn't really have time. We had to get back down because, as you know, or do you know? Did we do? Yeah, we did Stephen and Walter live last week, and Mom was in the
hospital.
Well, Mom was in the hospital. She's still in the hospital. So a quick little update. She's fine. She's had a CAT scan. She's having an MRI. We haven't got the results of the MRI yet. She had that late Friday afternoon, and so we'll have to probably wait till tomorrow to find out if they found anything. And I doubt that they found anything at all. In the meantime, they got her up to walk last week. The physiotherapists were checking out her mobility, and they've been doing a few little exercises with her, not very major kind of exercises. And they got her up onto her walker, two of them, took two people. And one person is kind of holding the back of her gown closed, thank God. And they took her down the hall. The other one's got her hand on her back, like giving her balance, and kind of holding her arm while my mother's holding the walker. I have never seen my mother in 4 years walk that fast.
Yeah. Usually what she does, if you try and get her to walk, she takes 2 or 3 steps and she goes,
I'm out of breath.
I'm out of breath. Right? She wants to sit down and be pushed.
Well, I was a little bit PO'd because, all right, I was kind of sarcastic. And I said, oh, a miracle has happened. Praise the Lord, she's been healed. And I said to the two women that were helping her, the two physiotherapists, says, well, when you're done here, can I have a little private conversation with you? Because you know what's going through my head now? She has been putting on an act to me, and to us, to family.
Yeah.
I mean, she does. She's still not like.
Still not.
She's not running around a track or anything like that.
And she was unstable on her feet.
And she was.
But she suddenly didn't get tired when she walked 2 feet.
Yeah, and actually, I'll admit it. Right or wrong, I was a little bit angry with her because I knew this was not a miracle cure. It wasn't because she was in the hospital. Now, mind you, she's eating better in the hospital than she was before, so she probably has a little bit more strength. But she has not been out of the bed. She's doing the same thing she does in her own home. She doesn't move. So I thought this was kind of strange. So I explained to the physiotherapist. I said, look, I haven't seen my mother walk like this in over 4 years. Told her everything I just told you. And I said, I don't know what's going on. And the other thing that was scaring me is, oh God, if she can move like this, They're going to do some basic exercises with her over the next few days, and depending
Send her home.
and they'll send her home. She can't go home. There is nobody there to help her get out of bed in the morning, to help her get dressed, to help her get herself cleaned up, to help her make meals. And she won't do it on her own. I know that for a fact. So we'll be right back in the same. I'll have to phone EMS again and take her back to the hospital. But you know, the hospitals just want them out of there. I had a meeting. We went and saw the social worker about all of this, and the social worker was absolutely diddly squat no help, which is what I expected. But I thought, well, I might as well start saying what my concerns are and everything like that, get the ball rolling here. Meanwhile, we have been checking out retirement residences at $5,000 a month, assisted living, and I'm thinking what's going to happen is they might send her to another hospital for rehabilitation because they talked about that. However, I'm not sure if she'll be staying in that hospital or this is outpatient kind of stuff. So the doctor, according to my mother this afternoon, the doctor wants to talk to me. Fine. Try and find a doctor in a hospital when you want to talk to one, okay? And I'm not going to spend all of my time hanging around, waiting for this doctor to finish his rounds and other stuff he's doing in different parts of the hospital to talk to him. He's got my number. He has called me once before. It was about the MRI stuff, about getting the forms filled out. So he can call me again and have a discussion on the phone, as far as I'm concerned. We suspect that he might want to talk about a date for either sending her home or for this rehabilitation stuff. I have a word that I'm going to be using a lot right now. And you may sue me for this. You may think I'm the cruelest and hardest person there is, but that word's very simple. It's called no. If he says, well, we think we can send her home now and we wanted to do some rehabilitation, so she'll need to go to the hospital, but it's outpatient, so she'll have to get there. And I'll go, and can you suggest to me how that's going to happen, please? Well, you know, you'll have to tow and take her. And I'll go, no. I don't have to say any more. I'm just going to say no. That's not going to happen. And look at them. Come up with a solution. You're the paid professional. You come up with a solution. Because I can't do it. Because it's just not a question of taking her to rehabilitation.
I mean, physically you could do that, but then you still have to.
She has to be dressed. She has to get cleaned up. She has to be fed. I'm not a nurse. I can't do it. Then their next thing will be, well, you can hire somebody. No, I can't. Because we can't afford it. As simple as that. So there's going to be a lot of no saying in the next little while, I figure, unless for some reason they come up with some other solution. But I don't think one of the solutions is they're not going to put her in an emergency bed in a long-term care facility. So I've pretty much made up my mind that no matter what it's going to cost, I'm going to put her in an assisted living retirement residence. And we'll go from there. We're working out the finances for this. We're working out all the logistics. Tuesday we have a tour of another. We've already checked out one place that's very close to where we live. It's only 5 minutes away. There's another one that's maybe another 10 minutes away. And we're checking that out. And we'll see what happens out of it. But I am going into this.
Well, she's still on
No
the waiting
mode.
list for a nursing home too.
Yeah,
So
and she'll remain on that. Even if we get her into a retirement residence, she'll still be on the waiting list. But the waiting list is, as you know, 4 to 7 years. So I don't know, but I've had it. I can't take much more of it. So I'm gonna have to start putting my foot down and be a real bastard. And that's not beneath me to be that way. But what are people saying here? Brenda says, looks like the popcorn is addictive. Now I want some.
yeah,
Maria says, it's called being cruel to be kind. Yeah, hard love, all that stuff there, I suppose. But really, it's not because I don't want to look after her. I can't look after her. I can't toilet my mother for a variety of reasons. 1, I'm a man, she's a woman, not going to work. 2, I have a life still that I am living. I can't be there 24/7. 3, we have to look at what all these things cost. And all of these things cost a lot of money. And getting help from social services for this, from community care access and things like that, she was on the waiting list for 4 weeks to get a PSW worker to come in twice a week for an hour at a time to help her bathe. That's all they were going to give us. Well, when I phoned them last week and canceled that, hadn't even started yet. I said, my mother's in the hospital. So, okay, that's fine. She's off the list. If she goes home and you need us, give community access to care and they will make the arrangements again. And again, we'll be on a waiting list. So it could be another 4 weeks or more before we get that kind of care. So, and people are coming to me with all kinds of suggestions. None of those suggestions take into consideration the true nature of my mother's condition. They look at me, I tell them, I'm upfront about everything. I'm not lying to anybody. I don't even have to embellish it because this is the truth. And they look at me as being, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just nasty. You're just not, and that's...
Problem is that even if they rehabilitate her a little bit enough that she can walk a little bit and stuff like that, that she'll go home and do exactly what she did in the first place to get in the hospital. So.
And this is the thing I'm trying to explain to them. Who knows my mother better than I do out of it? I know what she's going to do. I can predict it. It's because it's happened before. Why won't they believe me? Why? Because they just want her to be my problem and not their problem. They just want a body out of that bed so there's another body can have the bed. That's the way it goes. And that has to do with the system, and that has to do with government, and has to do with the budget from the government. I know all of these things. It's not that these individuals are trying to be cruel or anything like that and unkind, but they're in a bad situation too when it comes to this. So I don't know. I guess it's going to come down to who has the firmer no. And it's going to be me. It's going to be me on that. So, anyways, that's all we need to say about my mother this week and but because I could go on for days and I'm not going to. So, let's see. Oh, yeah, well, this is a controversial issue too, and I know I'm going to upset probably Brenda, but Trump did it again, eh, people? This time with the people trying to get across the border illegally and their children and all that stuff, and I know everybody knows all about that, so we don't need to go into it anymore. But I want to look at it from this point of view. I feel so sorry for the American people because this is not giving you a good reputation. And we know it's not the American people. We know that. The world knows that. They know who the problem is. And what was it? Melania or whatever was wearing some jacket?
Yeah, she was, but apparently she didn't she went down to visit, and apparently she was wearing some sort of a jacket that said, I can't remember exactly what it says. Do I really care? Or something. I can't remember what it said.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway, Trump sort of said that was fake news and all this other stuff. But I thought it was a little bit. She could have been a little bit more careful what she chose to wear.
Yeah, inappropriate. So, and I was kind of thinking that maybe Melania had more intelligence than her husband, and that she was getting kind of a raw deal and caught up in the middle of this. But come on, she picks her clothes. So really, and she does know something about fashion. So
I think it was considered a fashion jacket, but
yeah. Preci says it's a Nazi jacket. Hi, Julie. And Sody Q says, thank you. The immigration thing here is very unfortunate and self-made disaster. Yep, I'm just feeling so sorry for Americans now. I don't know what your people are going to be able to do. I mean, I really don't. But on a higher note, we've already mentioned this, but we now have marijuana is legal in Canada.
Well,
as of October the 17th.
Yeah.
Trudeau promised in his campaign in the last election that he was going to make it for July the 1st, which is Canada Day for us. It's like your Independence Day in the States. It was going to become legal. He was aiming for July the 1st, 2018. But it went through the House of Commons. They're the people that make our laws. They're our elected representatives. Then we have another house called the Senate. The Senate should be abolished. It's the stupidest thing there ever was. Maybe at the start of our country's history and development, we needed a Senate. And it's a checks and balances system. Not unlike how the American system works in terms of, making sure there isn't, well, I don't know if it does work in the States. But anyways, the Senate, they are not elected. These are people who get the job because they're good friends with the prime minister and they get appointed. They've been in the party.
And they make nice amounts of money.
Oh, they
and
make
have
good
nice,
money.
And a nice pension, and they have a nice.
They work about 2 days a year.
Yeah,
That's
and
what it seems.
And they have what do you call it? Expense accounts, which some of them have abused in the past.
Yep.
And that came to the light.
So they put so before a bill can become a law, it has to be approved by the Senate. And it usually has to go through 3 readings through the House of Commons first, the elected representatives. And then when the House of Commons has gone through 3 readings, it's been voted on and passed by them, it goes to the Senate. And the Senate now has the option to go up as many as 3 readings and sending back after each reading amendments to the law, which then have to be looked at by the House of Commons again, voted on, and then resent to the Senate. So it's like blah, 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 back and forth. And the Senate, depending on which party have the most members of the Senate in there, will usually vote on the lines of the party that they represent. So the Senate right now, I don't know if it's an even number. I don't think it is, but I think it's a little top heavy on conservatives.
Yeah, well, now they have it's top heavy on conservatives, and there are very few liberals and a whole bunch of independents.
Yeah. And the independents are the wild cards because
Yeah.
they can vote whatever way they want to vote. So it depends. So they're kind of like, you don't know what they're going to do. So the Senate did send it back with conditions a couple of times. The House of Commons, spitting up popcorn. The House of Commons accepted some of the amendments, refined some of the amendments, and then sent it back to the House of Senate, or the Senate. And finally, the Senate has now decided, yes, it's okay, we can do this. And I mean, the Senate was looking at, like, they had something like 47 different amendments for it that were ridiculous. Like,
There were no one of the big stickling points was that the bill said that an individual could grow up to 4 of their own pot plants
for personal use.
for personal use. And I guess the government wanted that because I guess they looked into what the U.S. was doing with marijuana and that, and their goal is to try and get rid of the black market of marijuana. So they felt that having that ability for people to grow their own would reduce or dilute the amount of black market. I'm not exactly sure. To me, it sounds kind of weird, but anyway. Mm-hmm. And I guess they sort of their argument is like people can brew their own wine, people can grow their own tobacco, so why shouldn't
they grow their own now? Our pot houses, grow ops they call them, and they're rated all because they're illegal, but they're growing hundreds of plants.
So there were 2 provinces that wanted to restrict or like have no ability to grow any, which was Manitoba and Quebec. And so the Senate sort of looked at them and they said, well, they wanted it to be, I'm not sure if it was optional or they wanted it so that nobody could grow it at home. Right. So I guess whatever reasoning the government has there, after looking at it, they didn't want that restriction to be in there. So,
yeah. But anyways,
I guess they've accepted it now.
Yeah. But anyways, they have agreed on it. Then it was waiting for what's called royal assent, which means that the Queen has got to say, yes, that's okay, you can do that. But that's just a figurehead thing. And the Queen doesn't even look at it or sign it. We have a Governor General who represents the Queen, and all it is a rubber stamp because they do not interfere. Once it's gone through the House of Commons and Senate and it's all been passed, it's something from the bygone days when we used to be part of the British Empire, when we were the Dominion of Canada and all that kind of stuff, a colony, so to speak. So the Governor General has now rubber stamped it, and Trudeau has decided that instead of immediately making it now that's legal, they have delayed it until October the 17th so that provincial governments will have enough time to decide how they're going to set it up, what kind of storefronts they're going to use for selling it, what agencies that may already exist that could sell it, like our LCBO in Ontario, which is our liquor control boards where we buy our wines and our liquors and stuff like that.
Our liquor is controlled here.
Yeah.
in our province. So it has to be, well, right now, some grocery stores have a license to sell beer and wine, but, and that's fairly recent. But before that, you had to buy beer in the beer store or beer in the liquor store, which is LCBO, Liquor Control Board of Ontario. It's all run by the province, and they have lots of outlets, and they're open decent hours, but it's all controlled.
Yeah.
My government likes to make money.
And the thing too is, which kind of bothers me, is sure it'll be legalized, and I don't have a problem with it being legalized at all, whatever.
I think there's lots of people before that were smoking.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah. And then they talk about the children and getting it. Oh, I can tell you.
I think they have
if you
had-
wanted marijuana, go to any one of my students and you could get it. It wasn't that hard, including prescription drugs as well, on top of all of that. But the thing that I don't like is that in Ontario, anyways, and I don't know about the other provinces, they're not going to sell what are called edibles. You know, like your brownies, your cookies, your gummies that have marijuana in them. Well, and I'll be honest about this, we do marijuana as a gummy. It's a strain of it that helps me to sleep. I have sometimes restless leg syndrome or whatever you want to call, and it'll keep me up. If I have one of those little gummies, it just lulls me to sleep. It kind of alleviates the restless syndrome. That's all I use, but I don't know how to inhale. I've never smoked in my life. So I can't do a vape or a joint or anything like that. So I don't know what they're thinking, why they're not going to do edibles at this time. Now that could change before October. It may change down the road past October. I don't know. But really, it's, well, we'll just buy out of province where we get it now, kind of a thing. But marijuana, there's a lot of medicinal
quality.
yeah, medicinal qualities to it, and it is an herb, and I don't think it's not a gateway drug in my opinion from the things I've dealt with, and I've dealt with this stuff for years because of being as a teacher, right? And it does not lead to heroin addiction or anything like that. And I think if anything, it's probably better if it's controlled now. Maybe it will be harder for people under the age of 18 or 19, whatever they put it at in our province, to get their hands on it when it's controlled. I mean, they can always get it somehow. Like kids can still get liquor and beer.
Or also, the quality is controlled.
Yeah, so
Like
you're not
going to
these-
get stuff that has some weird herbicide on it or something like that makes people sick.
that's laced with something that they shouldn't have in it. So I'm all for it. Not everybody is, but I'm all for it. And apparently, I read an article a few years ago in a magazine that's geared towards senior citizens to older people, like the 55 plus crowd, called Zoom magazine or Zoomer. And they were saying that the new after dinner liqueur was a joint. That many people throwing dinner parties now in that age bracket, where instead of serving like a liqueur after dinner, we're passing around a joint. So I don't know.
We've never been to one of those parties.
No, we've never been to one. No, we've never have. I mean, no one's ever. And quite frankly, I'd rather have the liquor, but than that. But anyways, oh, Laura's here. Hi, Laura. Did you know Shoppers Drug Mart applied to sell it? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, it's big business. It's going to bring in millions of dollars in tax money and revenue. Oh yeah. The businesses want this. They all want a piece of the pie on this one. But anyways, Maria says yes, it's good in brownies. And Cindy says, hello guys, how's it going? Oh, we're just talking about drugs, Cindy, no problem. Joey says, I sure don't want someone stoned out of their mind behind me on the freeway. Yes,
Yes,
but
exactly.
they're in our province, they're working on the laws. It's going to be treated the same as driving intoxicated. So, and they'll have methods for detecting it and the whole bit. So yes, I agree with you on that. It's
No,
still
you're right.
it's still an intoxicating.
However, there's a
thing.
number of people that are doing it illegally right now that are probably in the same boat. And so they should have been doing a detection on it a long time ago.
Yes. I have a friend who will go nameless who works a night job, and he tells me that when he gets out from his night job and he's driving home and his home is 45 minutes away,
Yeah.
he has it timed. He uses marijuana. He'll smoke a joint or eat a brownie or something.
I think it's eat a brownie because it takes a while to kick in.
And he says it takes, by the time he gets home, it just kicks in when he gets home. And I've said to him, what's going to happen one day when you hit a traffic jam or you're delayed and your timing is off? And what are you going to do when a cop pulls you over? He doesn't seem to be concerned about that. But then again,
Yeah,
I don't
know
really
the type of
agree
person
with him
he
doing
is.
it. Yeah, that's something else altogether. But anyways, so there's going to be people who are going to abuse the system no matter
Yeah.
what you do. But I think it's stupid to make something like marijuana illegal when people can go and get high on cough syrup, okay? Or on one of the other over the counter types of drugs. And there's a lot of people abusing prescription drugs too to get a high.
Mhm.
So, not saying that that's right, but marijuana is less dangerous than the prescription drugs. And if it's regulated, it's more controllable. At least in my
That's
opinion.
my
That's what I
assumption.
think.
That's our assumption.
We'll
But
see. We'll see
yeah,
what happens. Who knows? Um,
yeah.
and Chuck says inhaling is negative for the lungs. Not sanctioning edibles is a bit daft. Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, let's get off drugs. Let's go to what Walter said he was going to talk about this week that we left you hanging on. Inappropriate clothing out. And this is what I would like to
It's not
call
just going out
Wally.
to
What not to wear by Wally.
well, you know, I'm saying get well, not out to necessarily a restaurant, which that's included as well, but out shopping maybe or whatever.
Out in
I mean,
public.
many years ago you saw women with curlers, and you don't really see that anymore. But I mean that's dating me, right? So anyway, but what I don't like, what I think is inappropriate is sometimes it's more like young girls that are heavy, a bit on the heavy side, and they wear
Skin tight.
tube tops or something, and there's a lot of extra skin hanging
Or
out,
the little
or
midriff things.
right?
That,
It
whatever.
looks a little bit not very good.
Or the
Or
guys with the pants down and they're showing their plumber's crack.
exactly,
Or they're down the penguin pants.
or
and all that.
people that have wear pants and they have a big rip in them in inappropriate areas.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
in the
And
crotch.
so you sort of like everything's sort of hanging around, right? So, and why can't people dress more appropriately for when they go out of the house? And then that also goes to, I don't really understand why some people that are and usually women that are very heavy that wear skin tight leotard type material that sort of shows everything, right? And when we were actually a few weeks ago in the art gallery, there was a woman that was trying to look well dressed. She was wearing very, very tight leather pants
Yeah.
to the point where her to the
Everybody know what I mean?
to the point where it was very inappropriate. I didn't think it was. Maybe I shouldn't have been looking there.
Well, you
But
couldn't miss it.
yeah, I know. So that sort of thing. Like, why don't people check what they're wearing before they leave the house?
I think sometimes you can blame the fashion industry and fashion designers. Fashion designers portray these tight-fitting clothes or very low-cut things or things that show a lot of skin. I'm not a Victorian. I mean, I don't want them up to here and down to their ankles, but they show it and they show it on models that can get away with it, and people will look at it and go, if I have that outfit, I could look as good as that. No, you got to know your body type. I mean, I'll look at it. I don't want women to think we're picking on women's clothing. Men's
No.
clothing is bad too. There's very
Or
it's
like
very
the guy
difficult for
that's
us.
wearing skin tight jeans and you can see everything that's
Yeah,
underneath.
so it's no longer this. It's more like okay. You know what I mean.
I mean, maybe if he's going to a bar to pick somebody up, maybe that's okay. But
Cindy
I
says,
don't
just
know.
say it. Camel toe. Yes. But it's hard for men my age to buy clothes that are appropriate because it's all youth oriented. And these guys want to wear their pants down. Some they go right down to the backs
Yeah,
of
the
their legs.
teenagers
The
that are-
teenagers will do that. But older men, I have seen older men and men even up into my age who are wearing the we used to call them hip huggers, but low waisted, and you see the tops of their underwear. And yeah, okay, you bought expensive underwear. It's got Calvin's name all over it or whatever, and the whole bit. I don't need to see that. I really don't. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you can afford expensive underwear. I don't need to see it. Or worse, I don't need to see the underwear ban and this much crack. And we
Yeah.
used to have this problem in school with the kids, the boys, and that. And I used to say, pull up your pants, pull up your pants. Actually, it was kind of funny because they try to walk up the stairs and they look like penguins trying to get up there. And they would wear pants that were, they might have a 28-inch waist. They're wearing pants that are 40-inch waist. And I'd say to them, you really don't want to grow into those, okay? Because someday 40 might be tight on you.
And I'm not saying necessarily like people don't have to get dressed up to go out. Like just if things don't look quite right on you.
Well, have some pride in your appearance
Yeah.
and be realistic about it. But like we used to say to the kids, I would just say to them with these boys with the pants down, I said, okay, inappropriate. Girls, you cannot wear a scoop neck or whatever you want to call it, or V-neck down here where I can see cleavage in school. It's not appropriate in an educational environment. Or as our principal used to say, beachwear is not appropriate in school. So you'd see their cleavage. The boys, you'd see plumber's crack. I used to say, just say no to crack, kids. Just say no to crack with it. But constantly, when I was a teacher, especially this time of the year, like when the weather got warmer, clothes would come off, and it's just, and then of course you get the argument, I'm exercising my individual rights and choices. You don't have any. And then there were times when I have to take some of the girls aside and go, I know you're wearing it because it's fashionable, but I want you to understand something. It's a distraction in class. Boys at your age don't think with this, they think with other parts. That's not your fault, but why put yourself in harm's way with this kind of thing? And I'd say to the boys, girls do not appreciate seeing your rear end. They don't find that sexy. They find a nicely dressed young man sexy because it says you have class, you have respect, and that you're intelligent. Don't look like a gangster. You're not in prison. You're in school. But,
Well, that's sort of my rant. It's not. It's more. I think people need to take a little bit more time or a little bit more
pride in their appearance.
pride in their appearance.
Just
I think that-
sensible. Just sensible.
And like, look in a mirror and,
I mean, I know it's an individual thing. It's just, it's everybody has their own individuality. They want to dress like an individual, but I've always said that to the kids too. Do you think you're an individual in what you're wearing today? Stand up, stand up, stand up. What do we have in common? You all got the same style on. Is that individual? Where did you get that style? What magazine did you see it in? What television commercial? What movie? Which rock star was wearing this look and you're trying to imitate it? Is that being an individual? Go home and think about it. And cover up, for God's sakes. Especially when, lift your arm. Then, sir. Yeah, I didn't need to see that. I did not need to see that. But anyways, so anything else you want to say, Walter, about
no,
your...
that's about it.
Yes. So the people of Walmart, the ones, the videos they do on YouTube showing what their people are wearing in Walmart, that's always good for a laugh. But really, no. So, speaking of watching things on TV,
Anybody comment on him?
just let me check here. Yes, I agree. Anita's here. Hi, Anita. She's late because she's watching the USAF Blue Angels fly. And Sherry says, Anita also says she agrees with what we're saying here. And then Carol says, Walter, they have faulty vision. And Mel
I can understand it if they were blind.
yeah. Then they wouldn't care what they look like because they can't see
Yeah.
themselves. Mel says, is there some difference between prison and school? For me, school was like a prison. Yeah, but were you wearing orange as the new black? Mel, really? I mean, that's a different topic altogether.
Well,
okay.
then they've got school uniforms and stuff like that. And
Yeah, I
the
used to
girls-
be against that, but now over the years, I'm thinking that that's maybe a better idea. Except the poor little Catholic schoolgirls, they take those kilts they wear or whatever, and they hike them right up. And then the nuns come around or something and slap them, do the ruler thing. Or whether it was one test I heard somebody say, they would make the girls, which sounds a little bizarre, but I think get down on their knees. And if as long as the skirt touched the floor when they were on their knees, it was considered the appropriate length. If it didn't, then they had to.
Somehow that almost sounds like it's sexual abuse or something.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know if they would do that anymore, but I do remember. I don't know. Maybe it was a movie I saw or something. I don't know. I didn't go to Catholic school, so I'm really not sure. Carol says, public school teacher for years, now in favor of uniforms. Yeah, I'm pretty much that way too. But my opinion
Wasn't
doesn't
it
matter
at
anymore.
school if the girl was wearing too inappropriate top, you'd send them to the
We'd send them to the principal.
principal and they give them a nice big huge ugly T-shirt.
Yep. Put this on or go home. They'd send them home. But then I understood why some of the girls dressed the way they did, because on parents' night their mothers would come in and they were dressed even worse. Oh, I'll never forget the number of parents that I had, mothers that came in and they were wearing, to a parent-teacher interview in the evening, and they'd wear like little spaghetti strap, armless, like whatever, cleavage cut down to here, little t-shirt where, is it cold outside or you just got a lot of nipples hanging out? The kind of a thing. Oh, is it a bit nippy out? Whatever. Or they'd be wearing the low-rise jeans and they'd sit down and I'd see a thong come up, like, oh, that disgusts me.
There's inappropriate clothing.
Oh, that's ugly. And it looks uncomfortable too. How can anybody wear a thong and it's way this much above the waistband of your pants, and you see, like, why not paint a little arrow on it and go like, okay, follow the arrow, I don't know, follow the dotted line, rip here. It's disgusting, just disgusting. We used to call that dental floss. Yeah, just wearing a little piece of dental floss. Butt floss, that's it, butt floss. Yeah. Laura says, Brooklyn moms. Oh yeah, Laura and I taught in the same school, and I know exactly what she means by that.
Brooklyn, it's not like Brooklyn, New York.
No,
It's Brooklyn.
it's a small town close to us.
Yeah.
And a lot of our kids used to come to the school that we taught in. And yeah, Brooklyn moms. Just a different breed. And Laura says they don't have them in their school anymore because they opened up their own high school in the area. So those kids were now going there. So the G-string thing and all that butt floss and no to crack, that's somebody else's problem now. Anita says the skirt length had to be below your hand when standing. Oh yeah, I remember that one too. You put your arms straight down to your side, and the skirt had to be below your longest fingertips or something like that. But it was always funny because the school that I finished teaching in, right across the street, is the Catholic high school. And of course they had uniforms. So you would see the girls when they came out of school, after school or on lunch when they were walking sometime, they would roll the tops of the skirts up. So they had this, and some of them would put them up pretty damn high. Like, oh honey, I hope you're wearing underwear. That's all I can say. Because stiff breeze comes along and it's going to be cool for you. But anyways, so what are we watching? Well, I've been watching a show on Netflix, which I've watched for quite a few years. There's 7 seasons of it. This is the 7th season. It's a British show. It's called Call the Midwife. And I love it. It's very well done. It's about midwives, but they work out of a convent, and it started in the middle of the 1950s, I think, when it first started. Now we're up to 1963. And it's just about the day-to-day things that these women do when they go and they do home births and things like this. But there's interaction between characters. It's actually it can bring you to tears sometimes because they deal with certain social issues at the time period as well and all of it. But it's a really good show. If you've never seen it, look for it on Netflix or wherever. It's called Call the Midwife. Are you watching anything exciting?
No, I'm still doing Slum Landlords. I'm down to my last one, so.
I haven't seen any of those, so I don't know. Brenda says she loves Call the Midwives, and so does Julie. And And let's see, what else? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Somebody last week recommended to us a movie called Tom of Finland. And we rented it
Through Apple.
through Apple and to watch it. And it is a very good movie. However, if you don't know who Tom of Finland is, and we did, Tom of Finland basically was an artist in Finland who did erotic art. And his erotic art was all of men. It was gay,
Gay
art.
men.
But the men in it, they're brilliantly drawn, but they're proportionate size to things. How do I put this? They're very muscular, very butch guys wearing leather or tight jeans with no shirt. Is it getting hot in here?
That looks
And
showing inappropriate things.
and showing some parts of the anatomy that really are a little bit unrealistic in terms of proportion. Anyways, he became very famous, but it was all about his life. And I knew who Tom of Finland was, but I didn't know anything about his background. Just thought he was a guy who did dirty pictures. I don't know. But apparently there was much more to him, and that was whoever recommended that one to us.
I
That
think it might have been Mel.
it might have been Mel. Yeah, it's worth the watch. It does have subtitles because it's in
And
Finnish.
it does have some
I think it's Finnish. Yeah, Tom of
some
Finland probably.
inappropriate.
Yeah, there's-
it's fairly graphic, I guess.
It's fairly graphic and different things about it, but it's worth watching. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
It sort of showed the underground in the
In the
40s,
late 40s, the early 50s,
a very
into the 60s.
the underground society, and that it was illegal to be gay and everything else. So
So it's good to watch. The only thing what I don't like about foreign movies is if I have to read like underneath, it bothers me. But on this one, in this one's case, actually, I didn't find that too bad at all, because you could really understand what they were saying in their gestures and things without a lot of written dialogue. But it's still very good. Did we see anything else? No, we
no,
never went to
nothing.
the show last
No.
week.
I do want to see Jurassic Park though.
Yeah, when's it open?
It opened on the 22nd.
Oh,
So
did it?
it's
It's
playing
already
now,
running?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to go next week. On YouTube, nothing really new. I am going to talk tomorrow on my vlog about a YouTube channel I stumbled upon. And this lady who does it, Darlene Mashad, she's in Maine. She's a sewer and a quilter. But she does all these really quirky kind of videos, like when she goes shopping at Walmart and things like that. She's a little different. In fact, I'm going to review her channel, and I wrote to her. I've tried to put a comment under several of her videos to let her know that I was going to review it if that was okay and everything. Can't write any comments. She has all her videos blocked, so you can't add any comments, which makes I'm even a little bit more intrigued about her. Like, why did she feel she can't take comments? Maybe she got burned. I don't know. But I'm going to talk more about her and have the link and everything in my vlog tomorrow. So if you're interested, you might want to tune into that. Anita says PBS has one show on for 2 seasons called Home Fires. Loved it, but they left us hanging. It has not been back. I think, no, it's PBS. We don't get PBS.
Yeah, we have PBS on our
Do we?
on our limited subscription.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Oh, have they done ballroom dancing yet this year?
I don't know.
I always like watching the ballroom dancing championships. I just love the poses. And the hair is always perfect on the women. They're always leaning way backward. They never blink. Arms are in perfect position. The gowns all flow. The guys are all there going, too. They're kind of like if things on top of a wedding cake could come to life, but they only had wire for a backbone, you could bend them in those poses of it all. Strike a pose. Laura says, I started junk journaling on my second nail before I'll film the process. Fun. Yeah, I haven't seen any videos of yours lately, Laura, so I'm assuming that you just haven't done any for a bit, or either that or my notifications aren't working too, like other people are having problems with. Reading, still reading. Same book as before in the series. You reading anything? Oh, you don't read.
No, I don't read very much.
You don't read, no.
No, I'm reading about nursing homes and retirement residences.
Yes.
I do all your research for you.
Well, you're good for something, eh?
Yeah.
There you go. Mel says you
Not
should
just another
watch.
pretty face.
Well, you'll never find me ever accusing you of being another pretty face. Mel says you should watch Boiled Book Tutorial for Beginners, Echo Dyeing by Rosemary Morris. Very interesting way to do your own papers. Shannon Green has made a video about that subject too. Recommend it. Okay. So that's called Boiled Book Tutorial in Shannon Green. I have seen some of Shannon Green's YouTube things before, but I've not seen this one, so I'll check it out. It's intriguing.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. It sounds intriguing. Carol says, on the last few pages of Shogun, long book, love it. I read Shogun in the 70s, and I think I was probably in grade 13, so I was probably 18 years old when I read it. And I'll never forget this because it is a long book. It was a really good book. I should reread it again. So that's how long ago it was, when I was 18. But the thing was, my father was a lineman, journeyman lineman, put up hydro poles and wires and things, and he had his own company. I worked for him one summer as a ground man, which mainly meant that I stood underneath the pole and hoped to hell that none of his tools dropped out of his hand and hit me on the head. I was not interested in this job whatsoever. I was never interested in what my father did for a living. My brother went into that work, though. He was. And it was pouring rain out, and the stuff my dad was doing in the pouring rain, there wasn't anything I could do. So I'm in the cab of his truck, his bucket truck, and I always had a book with me. And I was reading Shogun. And I think in that day, I read 1,000 pages of that book. And I got so immersed into what was happening in the book and the characters. When my dad was finished for the day and we were driving home, it took me an hour to sort of sort out what reality was and what I was reading in the book. It was like I got so immersed into it. I don't think I ever read a book again where I got that immersed into it, where you basically thought, whoa, what's the reality? And given that it was Shogun, and Shogun took place like in old Japan with samurais and everything like that. But that was a really good book. I should reread that book because it's been, 40 years? 50 years? No, not 50. Only about 40 years since I've read it. Maybe 43, 42. So it's a really good book, yeah. What's cooking? What are we having for dinner tonight?
Chicken parm. Chicken parmesan.
Easy chicken parm?
Easy chicken parm.
Easy chicken parm means pre-breaded chicken breasts. Like Jane's or whoever. Is it Jane's we've got or Pitney?
No, we've got a Pinty or whatever.
Yeah. Throw a little sauce on it, throw a little mozzarella cheese, bang, chicken parm. So there you go. Delicacy for all, very complicated to make. And as we speak, we're thawing out the spaghetti sauce, which was made from something else that was left over, and I always freeze it afterwards. Okay, so what's coming up next weekend? Big weekend in Canada. Canada Day. Woo! And this year, July the 1st falls on a Sunday, so next weekend is a long weekend. It would still be a long weekend even if July the 1st fell in the middle of the week. It would be whichever weekend comes
The closest
to it. But basically, Canada Day, that's when people get floaters, holidays, right? Because if Canada Day fell like on a Wednesday, it would be declared a holiday. Canada Day is always on July the 1st. That's it, no matter what day of the week it is, so everything closes down for the holiday. But people who work...
No, actually,
how's that work?
What happens is, what used to happen when I was working, is if, let's say, Canada Day fell on a Tuesday, then you got the weekend off, and you got Canada Day off, but most people would take a holiday if they were working on the Monday, so that they'd have an extra long weekend.
Okay.
Right, if they could, if their boss let them.
See, the reason I have a little problem with this is because I have always had Canada Day off as a long weekend as a teacher, because we were always finished by the last day of June. So...
Yeah, so you didn't know what it worked like.
So I wasn't really... Yeah, right. Bite me hard. So Canada Day. Oh, we haven't talked about this yet because Coburg.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Canada Day, Coburg. This is a town that's about less than a little bit, maybe 50 minutes to our east. They're on the lake. They have this humongous Canada Day celebration where they have a huge market. An artisan market. So, you got your beads, you got your jewelry, you got your paintings, you got your nuts, you got your cookies, you got whatever. But it's huge. They usually charge you an admission fee of, I think, about $5 a person or something like that. Or is
Yeah.
it 10? I don't know. But it's nice to go and look at the junk. I mean, to look at the art. That's it. Yeah, yeah. I meant the art. There's some interesting stuff, but what I like to do is it gives me ideas for things I might want to try, like variations on something or a technique I can apply and things like that. And it's just, if the weather is nice, it's usually busy, but it's kind of nice to go there, and it's always kind of nice to find some place, a pub or
Oh, yeah.
something, and
And we always seem to bump into somebody we know
yeah.
when we're
So
there. So
Laura says, yes, I've been to Coburg for Canada Day before too. And Laura also says, I'm not even teaching this summer. Well, there you go, Laura. You got lots of time
Great.
this year. Because Laura usually teaches summer school a lot. Heaven help you, girl. Don't know why. Well, I do know why, because it's extra
extra
money.
money, but
But, I used to teach summer school. First few years of my teaching, I used to teach summer school. And yeah, it's not worth. I found after those years and after I've been teaching a long time, it was not worth it because the government takes about half of what you make, and you don't feel like you've had a summer with it because you teach the whole month of July pretty much. No, in those days you did. In fact, in those days you used to teach. Summer school was longer. I think it used to run about 6 weeks. So about the first or second week of August is when you finish up summer school. Well, then you got like 2 weeks off and you're back at school. But in those 2 weeks, you had to prep for regular school, and they were usually half days then. But you had such a fast turnaround on units and on tests and assignments that the other half of your day after you've been teaching, you were marking. So I just gave that one up after. But in those days, the first few years of teaching, I needed the money. So that's why I did it. Laura says, I'm not doing it anymore. Too close to retirement. Yep. Yeah, don't knock yourself out. It's not worth it, I don't think. Cash in your pop bottles. Whatever. What else is coming up?
you got our driveway paved.
Oh, we got our driveway paved. Yeah, there's a highlight. And so did several of our neighbors. So now all of our cars,
Are parked on the road.
yeah, they came on Friday and did that. And now we have to have our cars off the driveway for about 4 or 5 days, so everything will, settle out. So our street,
Not that it wasn't paved before. It
No.
was paved before, but it was
well, it's 23
20,
years
23-year-old job, and it was beginning to,
old. Like, it looked like crap.
yeah.
And I know the neighbors next door are probably now looking out and going, "Oh shit, we should have got ours done too," because theirs I don't think's ever been redone either.
No, it
And it's
hasn't been.
the same
Yeah.
age. They're new neighbors in a sense. They're the third owners of the house.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're probably all looking at there. Oh, God, got to keep up with the fags next door. Yeah. We're doing it because the other neighbors did it. Well, there's just
Well,
you're
no,
gonna-
no.
yeah.
What happened is we had some concrete work done a couple of years ago, and they put some bricks in between the asphalt and the concrete, and they were it wasn't looking too good. So
Okay, whatever.
I've been wanting
Well,
to get
no,
it done ever
it
since.
has
yeah.
looked like crap.
Yeah.
It looks nice now, nice and black and smooth and everything like that. So that's done. I can't think of anything else that's coming up
Nope.
or what's going on. Tomorrow on my vlog, I'm going to talk about some new things that I got. I'm going to show you my latest quilt. It's called a crumb quilt. I haven't finished it yet.
Not a crummy quilt.
Yeah, no, it's a crumb quilt. You use your scraps and all little bits and pieces. It's kind of fun to do. But then I had to figure out what I'm going to use for sashing before I put the squares together. It's a little bit radical looking. And I'm going to talk about, I found a pattern. When we were up in Aurelia with our friend's boat, there was a quilt shop in Aurelia, and she's a quilter too. So we went there, and it was a good quilt shop. I was quite impressed with it. And I said to Walter, look around, see if you see a pattern or something you like for the new quilt for our bed. Because I was looking for ones. And I've been leaning towards sort of a star pattern. Problem with a star pattern, some stars, if you have to sew them point on point, it's called. And you got to be really, really accurate or it looks weird. And I don't know if I'm up to that yet. And there's also something called Y seams, which seem to send.
Maybe you can do that someday down the road when you're more advanced.
Well, that's what I figured. I didn't want to do it now and practice on a huge queen size quilt and have it blow it apart. We did find a pattern that doesn't involve. It's a star, but it's also they call it the labyrinth, and it's sort of a star with things that wrap around it. But I'm going to show that pattern to you tomorrow on my vlog. So I need to go shopping to get material for that one and get started on it. And about a few other little things that were fine and whatnot. Our friend Patricia, she dropped about $500 in this quilt store. She just walked. We weren't in there that long. Of course, I dropped about 200. It's not hard to do, believe me. I could have dropped a lot more because they have such pretty fabric. It's so pretty. And that's the problem. I get, oh, look at that. I don't know what to do with it, but it's pretty. But anyways, and what else am I going to show you tomorrow? I'll talk about tomorrow. I don't know. There's some other stuff. Oh, I've got clips. I've got video clip of up in Aurelia on the weekend of our friend's boat and of this Christmas in June thing that was up there. So I'm going to stick that clip in there as well. So you might be interested and you might not be. Your choice. So anything else? Let's see. Mel says, when you and Walter are going to do jelly. Oh, when are you and Walter going to do jelly printing together? I think you were talking about that a long time ago. Yes, and I haven't forgotten about it. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how we're going to do the video. See, if we do it live, it's different from doing it as a pre-recorded because I can switch scenes because I can stop the video, readjust the camera.
Well, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should make it into a separate video and then post it on your channel, and then you can.
We could do that.
Yeah, that might work.
That might work better because jelly plate printing, yeah, it doesn't take that long to dry. But
I have done it before.
we actually have done it before. Not well, but he's done it before. Yeah, that's what I'm going to tell you, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But okay, we're going to get on with that one way or another. Okay, thanks for the reminder. Okay, people, so I think that's our time. Yeah. And let's see. Oh, a couple of other comments here. But live is more fun, says Carol.
Yeah.
Get to see the mess ups also. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
maybe-
actually, even if I recorded it, you'd see the mess ups because I never edit anything. You get it as it comes. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, you're going to see how I make it work or we make it work. So, okay, people. So, happy Pride, everybody, and have a good week. And we'll see you next week, if not before. Bye-bye for
Okay,
now.
Bye. Ta-ta for now.
Ta-ta for now.